All right, Nick, let's talk about the New England Patriots. As the world has kind of been turned on its head in the past few weeks with free agency, then trades by certain teams getting up further and further in the draft, the landscape for the New England Patriots has kind of changed a little bit. We have an interesting article today talking about some possibilities for that number 3 overall pick with New England and what they could possibly do with it. Let's get into the article. Then I want to know what your thoughts are on this on the other side. This, of course, is from Boston.com. It says, so far this offseason, the Patriots draft strategy has gone according to plan. New England cut ties with Mac Jones Monday, shortly after the free agency tampering period began, swiftly replacing him with former Patriots QB Jacoby Brissett. The move positions the team to to draft a young quarterback with their number 3 overall pick next month. That is, unless de facto GM Elliott Wolf and new coach Gerard Mayo managed to convince owner Robert Kraft to trade down in the draft in exchange for more picks. A decision by Vikings general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah Friday, one that trades Minnesota's 42nd and 188th overall picks to the Houston Texans in exchange for the number 23 and number 232 pick, might pave the way for a new Patriots draft strategy. Now, Nick, I think this brings up a very interesting idea of something that could happen between the Vikings and the Patriots. I want to know what your thoughts are. Should they even, kind of consider something like this? But before we get there, Patriots fans, I want to hear from you in the comment section below. Before you hear what we have to say, let us know, what are you thinking? There's a really interesting opportunity here for New England to potentially trade down. Do you want them to stick at 3 and get a surefire guy, or in your opinion, a surefire guy? Because we never really know if someone's going to work out. Or do you think they should take this opportunity of a lot of buyers and potentially trade down for maximum value? Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest update regarding the New England Patriots?
Look, I think the Patriots are in an interesting position. I mean, look, they obviously are, trying to find their franchise quarterback, and sitting number 3 in the draft isn't a terrible position. But when you look at the historical elements of being number 3 overall in a quarterback-heavy draft, it hasn't worked out well for the team sitting at number 3. You go back to 1999, the Cincinnati Bengals were the 3rd overall pick. They picked a 3rd quarterback off the board. That was Achilles Smith out of Oregon. He turned out to be a big bust. You can go back to 2021. The 49ers moved up to the number 3 spot in that draft. They selected Trey Lance. He looks like a big bust right now as well. So, not saying history will repeat itself, but there's not a lot of great historical precedent. If you're not getting the guy, then the odds of you getting the guy at number 3 are really, when I say the guy, I mean the clear number 1 quarterback favorite, the Trevor Lawrence, the Caleb Williams, the Andrew Luck kind of guy. If you're not getting that kind of prospect, the odds of you finding your franchise guy at number 3 are significantly lower. So I think this puts the Patriots in a very interesting position, right? Because if you trade back with Minnesota, which would most likely, according to the draft chart, work out something like this, it would be the 2 first-round picks this year and likely Minnesota Vikings first-round pick next year. So they basically get 3 number 1s. You move back to 11. Maybe you pick Michael Penix Jr. Maybe you pick a quarterback later in the first round. Maybe go Bo Nix in the second round, something like that, and still find a guy that could potentially be your quarterback and pick up a lot of draft capital if you feel like at number 3, your guy's not going to be there. I think it's an interesting conversation to have. I think it definitely flips the entire thinking for the Patriots going forward and what Elliott Wolf is going to do here, because they have a chance. And if they play this really right, like the Vikings are all in on getting a quarterback, they could really basically rob the Vikings blind. Let me throw this at you, Mize, and I'm very curious what you think about this. How would you feel if the Patriots trade their number 3 pick for the number 11 pick for the Minnesota Vikings and Justin Jefferson? That is game changing.
That would be.
I mean, that's what the Patriots have, that opportunity, and I think they can take advantage of that, right? And now just imagine the seismic shift. That's why the Patriots have all the cards right now. The Vikings played theirs. I think the Patriots, if they play this right, could really come away with something really special here.
Yeah, and I think if the Vikings are desperate enough for a quarterback, which it seems like they are, you could get a pretty big haul out of something like, a Justin Jefferson in there, because known quantities are valuable, but some reason, those really high up draft picks, they're a little bit more valuable than people would think. So getting a guy like Justin Jefferson and a couple draft picks is something that is potentially on the table. And I think that would be excellent for the Patriots to do. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But I want to touch on something you talked about, Nick, where you say being the third guy on the board isn't always that great. And we can even go back to last year. You had Bryce Young, number one. You had CJ Stroud, number two. Obviously, the Texans trade up to number three, but being the third guy in terms of quarterbacks on the board, you got the Colts at number four. They pick Anthony Richardson. Anyone else down that draft? I mean, Will Levis, all these guys that were quarterbacks, the third quarterback on the board, really didn't feel great. The first two, everyone was talking about number one, number two. It's this guy, this guy. This year, they're talking about it's Caleb Williams, it's Drake May, and now someone else maybe sneak in there as well. But it's this guy, this guy. And then usually one of those guys turns out to be the guy. Being the third guy on the list, you're kind of getting the scraps out of a 50-50 coin flip. It doesn't really feel great to get that third quarterback on the board. Now, somewhere down the middle of the pack, those, picks do kind of end up to be a little bit more interesting as well because they're more high upside, low floor type of players, which I think could be interesting. But I really like the idea you consider of getting a quality playmaker and a guy like Justin Jefferson or something like that, as well as some good draft capital for the Patriots in exchange for their pick. Because you're still going to have a good draft pick as well. But to get a quality player onto a team that is rebuilding, and you have Jacoby Brissett, he's not great, but he's not terrible. I think he could certainly get the ball to a guy like Justin Jefferson and really get the Patriots up in the numbers. I think that would be a serviceable offense next year. I think that would be the smart long-term play. Now, I know the Patriots, they want some immediate results right now, but I think if you look at something like that, that would be the best play for them long-term.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And again, they could always still draft a quarterback at number 11 under that scenario, right? They could take a Penix Jr. or whoever in that situation or draft a quarterback later in the first round. I think the important thing to understand here for the Patriots is if they play this right, they could come away with something absolutely massive because the Vikings are all in. They've thrown all their chips to the table right now, and they are 100%. They're going to draft a quarterback as early as they possibly can. And the later they wait to move up in the NFL draft, or the later in the first round they move up, they'll obviously lose the value of the quarterback. They'll either be stuck with the fourth best or the fifth best. The Minnesota Vikings are definitely going after a quarterback here. The Patriots can use that to their advantage because we know the Bears are taking Caleb Williams. That's basically a done deal. There's some rumors that Minnesota may be trading up to number 2. That's not happening. That is not happening. We all know Washington's selecting a quarterback. The Patriots have been reportedly all in on a quarterback recently, but remember earlier this offseason, there was a lot of chatter that they were interested in a veteran passer as well. Now, obviously, they signed Brissett. Is he veteran enough for their liking? Maybe, maybe not. But I really think the Patriots, if they play this right, they could come away with a massive haul from the Minnesota Vikings. And this is going to really tell. I think the upcoming weeks and months as we get ready for the NFL draft, we're going to learn how smart of a guy Elliott Wolf is, if he can handle the situation and pull it off. And if he does, I think we're looking at just a really quick turnaround for the Patriots, and they'll be back in contention in no time.